Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I want to be sure. I want to thank you all for being here. My name is Pauline Brooks, and I am board president for the California Alliance of Retired Americans. Welcome to our 22nd annual convention. This is our first all virtual convention. So we thank you in advance for your patience with any technical problems we will be having. From including several, we have, excuse me, we have packed the agenda for today. We have some great speakers, and we will be hearing from some questions. And at this point, I'm going to say it. Please make it a question that can be answered and not editorial. Thank you. So that we can fulfill our full day here. If you have any technical support needs that cannot be solved via the chat, we have a phone support line which you can reach by calling 510 663 4086. So we will move forward. Technically, for many of us, this is an adventure. Welcome, welcome. And we have a special Kara friend here who is also a full part of our convention. And he is none other than our own John Bowser, who is senior advisor to Social Security Works. And of course, we all who are 50 and over know him by. I turn it over to John, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pauline. And I did love your choice of words, which is we apologize in advance for any technical difficulties we will be having, rather than we may be having. That's usually the story on Zoom meetings. But welcome everybody to the very first Kara totally virtual convention. There have been 22. I've been at quite a few of them over the years because we at Social Security Works just want to say to Kara that there is no better ally anywhere in America than this group. And we have done so much work already this year together. So many rallies outside hospitals and outside congressional offices to try to hold people accountable for the votes that they have been taking. And as many of you know, and many of you are participating in, this time period right now in the state of California is all about Prop 50 and making sure that Prop 50 gets passed. We are going to have to flip the House in 2026 in order to stop any more horrid legislation like the big ugly bill that was passed earlier by reconciliation. And if we don't flip the House, there's going to be another one of those coming down the pike in 2027. So we've got to make sure that we stop this. It's very dangerous, especially for seniors. It's dangerous for everybody, but seniors are one of the biggest targets of this kind of legislation. As you probably know, is the biggest Medicaid cuts in history by far, plus $500 billion coming out of Medicare. That doesn't get talked about very much. Right at this moment, the focus is on our junior seniors in a lot of ways, and that's important for Kara too, and for us at Social Security Works, because the Affordable Care Act subsidies not being extended affects people mightily in the years when they're most likely to get sick without health insurance, right before they can get to that wonderful program called Medicare that has made, along with Social Security, the biggest difference in the lives of American seniors in American history. These are the two most successful domestic programs of all. So, without getting too much in the weeds here at the beginning of this program, just understand that passing Prop 50 is an absolute necessity. The bear, and I have a few of them behind me. Okay, those pictures were taken in Alaska, I admit it. But the bear in California is going to roar on November 4th. This is a must. And I urge everybody to do what I am doing, which is show up every Monday at 12 noon on the Cara phone bank for yes on Prop 50. The vote is yes. Get that in everybody's head. And this has been a super effective phone bank. Rob will tell me whether we got to 100. I don't think we quite got to 100 last Monday. We are pushing 100 people on the phone bank, and that is amazing. We're making thousands and thousands of calls. They're not hard calls. They're fun. Most of them are yeses, and some of them are I don't know enough about it, and then you can persuade people, and they become yes. And the ballots have been sent out in the mail. I've gotten mine. Send it right back, and you can tell people if they get their ballot and send it back. The best news is they'll get taken off the list, and they won't be called anymore. So once their vote is in. So this is a critical time in the state of California. And the way I've been saying it is that we, for once, are the center of the universe. We are Delphi. In ancient Greece, Delphi was thought to be the center of the universe, and that's why they had the Oracle of Delphi there. We are the center of the electoral universe. We all know that we all have that feeling that sometimes our votes don't really count, like in the Electoral College. We still got to vote, but how much difference does it make? Right now, we make the biggest difference in America. When they go low, we fight back, and we are fighting back. I am the guy in the movie Grease. Pauline did refer to my Sha-na-na career. I'm the guy who in 1978, during the big scene at the Hop, when Sha-na-na sang every song, and Cha-Cha Di Gregorio and Danny Zuko were doing the limbo, I'm the guy who was somehow talking about what's going on in this regime that we have in Washington and this party that appears to be trying to decimate the lives of Americans, because I'm the guy who said, how low can you go? How low can you go? Say it with me. How low can you go? How low can you go? And it does seem as if there is actually no bottom. So when they go this low, we fight back. And that's my message for today. As Bowser would put it, bum 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 dang a dang dang a ding a dong ding. Yes on Prop 50. Ooh, those low notes are good in the morning. Now, my distinct pleasure to introduce my friend and doing a great job as the executive director of the California Alliance for Retired Americans, Rob England.
John, thank you so much for being here and for introducing the convention. Hi all, Rob England, Executive Director for CARA. Today I am going to review the events that we're going to be conducting today. So after my introduction here, we are going to hear from our Senior Vote Committee. Senior Vote is our electoral program that we run every 2 years.
So this is a segment where we're really just kind of touching bases with the friends of CARA, folks who have been a part and who are a part of our work. So our next guest is Ryan Mims from AFGE.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for having me here. I really appreciate it. My name is Ryan Mims. I'm with AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent about 800,000 federal employees across the country. including those that work at Social Security, the Department of Labor, Transportation Security Administration, all of our military bases, the VA. You know, if there's a job being done in the federal government, there's a good chance that one of our members is doing it. And I appreciate you guys inviting me here because it's been a pretty rough year for federal employees. And just so you guys know too, Lorena's a huge advocate of us and fights for us all the time. I'll actually be at the phone banks tonight. So anyone that gets off here and wants to join us for phone banks tonight, I'll be there doing Prop 50 because that's our biggest issue in California right now that we see as a path forward for us to fix some of the problems. So I don't know if everybody knows, but the first time the Trump administration was in office, he really came after federal employees. And we fought and we won and we were able to beat him in the courts. And it really pissed him off, I think, because this second term, he's kind of upped his ante. So in doing so, he tore up the contracts. He tore up the contracts at the VA. He tore up the contracts at the Department of Labor. He tore up the contracts at the U.S. Census Bureau, EPA, a whole bunch of places where he just said, we're not going to honor the contracts. It's a national security risk to honor those contracts. We're going to throw them out. We're going to kick the union out of their spaces. And we're going to stop allowing payroll deduction of union dues to occur. In the federal government, it's like a right to work state. So everybody's voluntarily contributing union dues. So no one's forced to pay. But they kind of wrote their language as if people are being forced into the union, and this would free federal employees from AFGE, which is entirely misleading. But that's what they did. So we're engaged in a whole bunch of lawsuits to try to protect our contracts and make sure people have rights in the workplace. But in the meantime, he's continuing to escalate things. A couple weeks ago, one of the groups that he hadn't taken the rights away from was the Bureau of Prisons. He tore up their contracts and said they no longer have rights. And it's really interesting because he's taking away the rights of like mechanics at the military base, but he says police officers, they can keep their union rights, even though unions are bad for national security, right? He's taking away the rights of nurses and doctors at the VA, but he's letting firefighters at the military base and Border Patrol agents keep their union rights. So he's basically attacking the agencies where he thinks that it's that they're in opposition to him, that it's Democrat controlled agencies or Democrats run these, or these are policies Democrats like, right? Like the EPA was, one of the first places he wanted to go after. And so he's been doing that pretty regularly right now. Our employees have had a really hard time dealing with what's going on, trying to get representation, trying to make sure the workplace was fair, to the point where if people showed up with an AFGE shirt, like a polo AFGE union shirt, at some locations, managers are disciplining those people and sending them home for the day, right? You can't even wear a shirt signifying that you're in the union in some of these places where he's torn up the union contracts. Right now, Social Security, our workers there are pretty good. I know this is one of your top priorities. They still have their union rights. We don't know how long that's going to last based on what he's done everywhere else. Because part of what we see from him is the places where he wants to privatize and push privatization are some of the first places where he tears up the union contract. If he can get rid of the employees and get rid of the unions that are fighting for the employees and that want to make sure that the taxpayers are protected, then he can go and they can start pushing privatizations and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that going on inside the federal government. And I think everyone's aware there's a shutdown happening right now, right? So they started a shutdown. During the last shutdown, it was during Trump's administration, right? 2018 to 2019. That was the longest one in history. Based on everything we're hearing on the ground, this one's going to be longer. So our federal employees got half of a paycheck last week on Friday, and they will not get a paycheck again until this shutdown's over. So we're trying to organize food pantries and stuff like that for all the workers that work in the federal government and make sure they're taken care of, because they're required to go to work still if they're not furloughed. And if they are furloughed and they try to get a job somewhere else, they have to report it to the agency, and then the agency determines whether or not they can take the job or whether it would be a conflict of interest. So it's really a difficult situation for federal employees right now that are either furloughed or working without pay, which TSA officers are doing right now. A lot of our Social Security folks will be doing that right now. All of our nurses and doctors at the VA will be working without pay right now. And then the new wrinkle that he's added that hasn't ever existed before is that they're going to do RIFs. They're actually going to do reduction in forces. They're going to fire people during the furloughs. And it looks like they're going to fire people that they don't like and do it on a targeted basis. Just to give you an idea, after the shutdown happened, we did a rally in Tucson, Arizona, last week on Tuesday, right? So the following Tuesday, we did a rally in Tucson, Arizona. We had members from the Census Bureau, about 120 or so employees from the Census Bureau. They do all the tele calls to try to get the statistics on, data during the census for the whole southern region and the whole western region of the U.S. Those folks came out to that rally to decry the shutdown and how it will affect them and their pay. And then 2 days later, those folks were riffed, right? So they were in the news saying, we don't want the shutdown. This hurts us. This is how. 2 days later, they got riffed. So we think that it may have been retaliation for them doing that rally. It was them, and then Adelita Grijalva was there at that rally. So it really hurt us. And it's a degradation of the services that we provide in general. We've lost, I think the last number I saw was there about 175,000 federal employees that have left the government in the last 10 months. Most of them leaving because of the circumstances that Trump's creating. Either the deferred fork in the road letter, where he's basically said, if you're not loyal to me, you need to resign and leave now, or they've retired and left because they realize it's not good working conditions for them. So we've lost about 175,000 employees from the federal government. So for us, obviously, we're encouraging people to go to No Kings rallies and do those things, just like the Cal Labor Fed is. We're joining with them to participate in those things. Here in California, we have one of the best ways to kind of fight back against this administration, which is Prop 50, to get members of Congress, because right now the Congress is just a rubber stamp for Trump. There's a bill in Congress that would fix everything for our federal employees. It would ensure their collective bargaining rights are protected, that their union contracts exist, that they keep their civil service protections. It's been co-sponsored by 222 members of Congress, which means it's a bipartisan bill. And we have 216 members of Congress that have signed a discharge petition to try to force Speaker Johnson to bring it to a vote on the floor. Adelita Grijalva, when she gets sworn in, she'll be 217, which will leave us one person short of getting that discharge petition. She'll be 218 on the Epstein files, by the way, too, which is why they don't want to swear her in. But that bill is an example for us of why Prop 50 is so important, because we're two people away from getting a bipartisan bill that will protect and keep a nonpartisan civil service system intact that works on behalf of the American people, not a particular president or a particular political party. And the Republicans in Congress are unwilling to bring that bill to a vote. The Speaker Johnson doesn't want to bring that up to a vote. It's a bill that has bipartisan support, 222 co-signers, Republicans and Democrats in the House, and we have a Senate version of the bill as well that has Republicans and Democrats on that bill, and we won't be able to get it to a vote until Speaker Johnson's replaced. So that makes Prop 50 really important to us, because if they're able to rig the elections through what they're doing in Texas and these other states, then the nonpartisan civil service system that AFGE believes in, where people take an oath to their office and they go and they serve the American people, that's going to go away. They're going to continue to tear up union contracts. They're going to move to something called Schedule F. And then once the federal employees don't have any rights or anything, they're going to privatize everywhere they can. Just one last thing. I know the correctional officers and Bureau of Prisons might not be your highest priority. I know Social Security is one of the big things, but just to give you an idea, they tore up the contract for correctional officers about 2 weeks ago. because the union was fighting them because right now they're understaffed and they don't have enough people to cover the correctional facilities, to the point where if you signed up to be an adult educator in the the Bureau of Prisons to teach people and help actually rehabilitate them so they could get out and have an education and find a real job when they do get out of prison, those folks are having to work as correctional officers because there's not enough staff to actually do the adult education. If you're a nurse at the Bureau of Prisons, you're having to take shifts as a correctional officer, even though you went there to be a nurse in the medical facilities, because they don't have enough people. So because of that, the union was resisting them sending their correctional officers to Portland and Chicago and other places, because we just don't have enough staff at the facilities. That pissed off the Trump administration, so they tore up the contract, and now they're proceeding to send those correctional officers out to other places. They do not have the staffing to maintain those federal correctional facilities right now. So I think what they're going to do is start moving prisoners into the for-profit prison system, right? And that's kind of how they're going to operate with other things. Project 2025, this is their playbook. Get rid of federal employees that have the ability to speak up, and we can move forward with privatization, and we're seeing that happen right now. I know there's still some time left, so I'm happy to answer questions and talk about what our membership is dealing with. Let me know, and I can try to answer anything I can. Let's see, what is the name of the bill you're discussing? Let me pull that up real fast. HR 2550 is the bill. It's the Protect the America's Workforce Act. That is the bill we're discussing. It has 222 co-sponsors, and it's designed to make sure the civil service protections are enshrined in the law so they can't be affected by executive orders. Let's see. How can Trump lay off union workers with seniority? Well, so what he's doing is he's riffing the entirety of departments, right? So he's laying off full departments that he doesn't believe should be operating. We believe that's illegal. We actually had a court case today in San Francisco where the judge put a temporary halt on being able to fire federal employees during furlough. So that's like breaking news that just happened today at a San Francisco courthouse. So he can't fire people right now because they put a stay on it, but we still have to win the court battle long term, because his plan is definitely to fire people. Let's see. Are you coordinating food banks with your community? Yes, we do. We're working with the Labor Council, the California State Fed, the Arizona AFL-CIO, and the different places to try to coordinate food banks. So we will be doing that. The other thing we do is we have some banks who we've partnered with who are giving no interest loans to some of our members during the course of the shutdown. So we have partnered with some banks for those type of benefits, but not all of our members have access to that. Are there any other questions or?
Yeah, Ryan, there's a couple more here. One is, how many federal workers were laid off because of Doge?
So because of Doge, we lost about 175,000 federal employees. That's a combination of people taking the fork in the road letter and people just saying we're getting out. So, that's the rough number. About 175,000 federal employees have left service because of what Doge has done, which is really significant when we already had understaffing at the VA, and we already had understaffing at the Social Security Administration, right? These things are going to drive wait times in a bad way.
Next question. This is an important one. Where can people donate for federal workers?
If you go to afg.org, there's actually a donation link to donate to our legal defense fund. That one exists. You can donate that way. The other option that I would think is just your local food banks. The labor council, so all the central labor councils that work with the AFL-CIO, they partner with like the United Way and local food bank charities to assist food banks. So you could donate to those type of food banks, and it would help our members because they're going to be relying on them.
Next question, Ryan, please discuss the ways that AFGE and other federal unions are fighting back against termination of union contracts. Also, how successful will these efforts be?
Yeah, so we have a lawsuit that we filed in conjunction with AFSCME on that would have a temporary restraining order to block mass firings, right? And then we also have a lawsuit regarding the tearing up of our contracts that we filed back in March. So we have two separate lawsuits that are going on. One about illegal firing and one regarding the termination, the illegal termination of our contracts. The one regarding the legal termination of our contracts, that court case is set to be heard finally on the 17th of this month. So we're hoping that'll be like our first day in trial. So we'll see how that goes. Initially, that judge that's in that court case said that they couldn't just throw out our contracts, and he put a stay on it. The Trump administration appealed that all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, in their closed docket, whatever it is that they're doing now, decided that they could actually tear up the contracts until the court case was over, and so sent it back and overturned the judge at the court where we're actually having the case happen. So it seems like at the lower level we have a favorable judge, but obviously the Supreme Court didn't agree with his position to have us keep our contracts until the case was over. So one of the good things that the AFG did is we got a bill passed that funds the VA for a year in advance. So the VA members, our folks that work there, everyone other than, like, for example, like our IT folks, are getting their pay while they work during the government shutdown because their funding was pre-funded in advance. So they're in pretty good shape right now. The biggest problem we have in the VA is there's a huge effort by the Trump administration to privatize. They're trying to move everyone out of the VA into the private sector under the guise that that would be better for veterans. We know it's not, but that's going to be a big fight. But that's separate from what's happening right now because they are funded currently. And so those employees are working, they're getting paid.